Welcome to Real Triad Reviews. Today we are a dyad. It's me, Mr. Snidbits, and tonight we've got Mr. Marvelite. No Black Girl Marvel tonight, but that's okay. Her Phoenix is here in spirit. How you doing, Mr. Marvelite?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm doing a lot better than you are right now.
That's true, yeah. So those that don't know, first thing in the morning, in about 12 hours, I will be going under the knife and getting neck surgery. I'm getting a full disc replacement, so that'll be fun. And so I'm a little stressed out. So if my movie reviews are mean, it's because I'm in pain. Of course, I'm kidding. Um,
Sure.
how was your week though? Otherwise,
It was good. It was good. I got a little punished last night. You saw, at least you saw that part of it on stream. And yeah, I can't really complain. So I just can't believe the weekend's already over.
I know it's already almost Monday. So I actually put you on the poster wall. So we're both on the
Ooh.
poster wall now. So we can actually come over here and chat a little bit.
Hey.
Which is kind of cool. And so tonight we're going to be reviewing some movies as we always do. We've got the new Space Jam: A New Legacy, with starring LeBron James as well as every Warner Brothers character ever made, and
Literally.
literally Gunpowder Milkshake with Karen Gillian, as well as a huge cast of amazing action and movie stars, or well,
Mhm.
actresses, if you will. We've got Loki episode 6 that we're going to be doing tonight, which will be the finale of that series, which is going to be a lot of
Mhm.
fun. I think we're going to dedicate a huge chunk of tonight to that. And then,
Spoiler alert. The finale of that season.
oh yes, big spoiler alert there. And then
Yeah.
we're also, if you can see on our reviewing soon, What If will be coming out next month, and we will absolutely be doing a review on the What If series. And I think we're
Yes.
excited about that. So
Absolutely.
that being said, do you want to hit up Gunpowder Milkshake or Space Jam first?
It's really up to you. I mean, we get at this point we get to flip a coin, but if we're gonna flip a coin, we might as well do the sports one first. So let's
I like that. Let's just do it. Let's just run with what's on
yeah,
the poster
yeah.
wall. So let's get your initial take on Space Jam: A New Legacy, starring
Sure.
LeBron James.
Okay, I'll be honest with you. Like when we first started talking about doing Space Jam, I was dreading it because I think the first time I watched Space Jam, I liked it, but I was young enough to where I wasn't discriminating. That's why we always talk about our 12-year-old self. Like we always would score things higher because we're not as critical as we are as we're getting old and crusty.
Mm-hmm.
And so I honestly tried to go back and watch the original Space Jam with Michael Jordan um not too long ago, and I could not do it. I could not stand the film. And so I was really afraid because of things like the Tom and Jerry film that just came out recently. I didn't like that. And I felt like they were going to go in um the direction with Space Jam. And here's the thing, like I always get to this point where I feel like sometimes it's great when we get like sports stars and stuff like that into films like this, but honestly, um you got to remember that they're just sports. They're sports celebrities, they're sports stars. The acting is not, up there. And LeBron James did really great when he was being serious because you can kind of get that idea, but the when he started getting like jokey with the tunes and stuff like that, it was just kind of like
Is it weird that I
it didn't
liked
hit.
that part the most?
I'm sitting there like I'm like yeah, in my mindset I'm thinking, okay, I can so see him just feeling completely embarrassed as he's standing with a camera crew in a green screen trying to talk and give high fives to characters that don't even exist. And you can kind of see that awkwardness to it, which is kind of enjoyable, but in the standpoint of acting skills, it's much to want. But I actually will say I did like this movie a lot better than I liked the original Space Jam. It's not perfect, but at the same time, um, I loved how they actually went into like all of the like Warner Brothers just kind of made fun of itself in a sense where, it was kind of like in that it was very much the things that I liked about Ready Player One, where it was all of the little Easter eggy like character like jump ins. You had like the Overwatch characters, you had like the Joker and all them characters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so when you have like, they have to go to DC world or they're passing like the Harry Potter world or and it was like LeBron James was excited to see how what he would end up being in those different places. And I'm sorry, when you see Foghorn Leghorn riding a dragon with a white wig going winter is coming, like you have to at some points really appreciate stupidity like that.
So was this
And
movie made for you or for your son?
well, I will say this: my son has not really ever been interested in getting into Looney Tunes. We have I have like volumes of Looney Tunes on Laserdisc, and whenever I try to put it on, he's like, "Dad, change it. I don't want this." And so this is the first time that he's been introduced to him, and he came out of this movie excited about Looney Tunes, and I'm wondering if we're gonna have like this resurgence of Looney Tunes properties like we did when the Muppets kind of did their Muppet movie.
I would say
Um,
it depends on how well it does in the theater. So it did well on HBO Max. All of these things are going to do well on the streaming
yeah,
services. Even Black Widow
yeah,
did really, really well on the streaming service just because people don't
hmm
want to have to go through it. But honestly, how it performs at the theater, so we won't know that until later this week. What's up, Smash Bros?
yeah.
And let's say hi to everybody. We got Muncie in the chat. We got Smash Bros in
Well,
the
much
chat. We got El Taco Angel
Angel.
in the chat. We got Cowgirl in the chat. Thank you all for being here while we chat about these flicks here. I can move over to the poster wall a lot more right now because of this. Um, so yeah, we've got these films here that we're doing. It's talking about Space Jam, and as far as the way that they went about all that, I get your point, your reference about Ready Player One, but I don't know if everybody knows how I already feel about Ready Player One, which is I don't like it. So
Right.
this was like more of the same, but this was basically like LeBron moved to LA, and they're like, oh, he's here now, we can use him in movies. And then they literally played off that, and then they played off of every bit of his career and just tried to make that as real and solidify realness as possible. And then
Yeah.
everything else was wildly far fetched, of course. But I think the part that drove me nuts was like they literally were like, if it's a WB property, it better be mentioned in this film. And not only better it be mentioned, but if it's a movie coming out this year with a sequel, we better put a little clip in there about that film, like The Matrix. Like,
hmm
what's the point in bringing The Matrix up 20 years later unless they're putting a Matrix movie out this year? So that's like a precursor to a movie. So they're literally just advertising for Warner Brothers, and I get that to a point. But it became a little heavy-handed, I think, at points where you're like
hmm
seeing characters in the background that I was excited from the preview, but then I see Pennywise and I'm like, that's not Pennywise, that's a dude in cosplay. Or
Yeah, you could tell like some of the characters were not who they were. Like all the Agent Smiths were not
right.
Agent Smiths.
Or
Um, the mask.
Freeze, the mask. I think Freeze stood out the most because the dude was really skinny. Like he didn't have the
Yeah,
bulk that Schwarzenegger had, and it's like that's great. But if you're not looking, but we are going to be looking because we're Easter egg hunters, right? We are gunters,
right.
if you will, and or you are for sure. I know you're a gunter. Like if gunting was real and Ready Player One was real in the 2060s, you would
I
be
would hope
right
so.
up there with Parzival trying to get those keys, and I would too because we know the era.
Yeah.
But I think it's like built into your DNA. Like watching you and how you do Marvel, I think it's brilliant. I love it. So watching you watch this movie is fun because I know you get excited. So,
Yeah.
um, Taco Smash, how's it going to? Oh, how's it? They're just talking to each other. Okay,
They're just
I was
talking to
like,
each other. Yeah.
okay, I was like,
Okay, can I say something too? I love how
sure.
they kind of made like they referenced the previous Space Jam and stuff, and at some point when Sylvester the Cat brings in Michael B. Jordan,
It was
and
so good.
that that cracked me up. Like
Yeah,
that was perfect. And honestly, the story behind the father son story that made sense. Like it made more sense than because if you remember when Michael Jordan did the first Space Jam, it was right in the midst of where he left basketball and went to baseball,
right,
and he wasn't doing well in baseball. And so what did they do? They did a movie to get him back into basketball.
right.
And so like and there was one thing because I realized at the beginning of the film, and I think LeBron James did well. I think he was a good character. You have like certain athletes that are better representations of like wholesome family type things, and I think they did all right with that. But here's the thing: I think if history did not happen the way it did, I would have probably I would have expect that we would have had Kobe Bryant play this character instead of LeBron James. That's just my
I
opinion.
I think he had a bit better chance of acting. No offense, LeBron. You're a great
Yeah.
basketball player and a really good human being, as far as I can tell. Psycho, thank
Yeah.
you so much for 5 months of subscription. I cannot
Awesome.
believe that. That's a beautiful thing. You have been such a supporter of the channel. And we have no Lala tonight. She is out tired, and I get that. Sometimes you got to call out for mental health. It makes sense, and we wish her a good evening. And
And can we say it's amazing that you're even doing this? I mean, you're going to have surgery tomorrow,
yeah,
and yet you're still doing this.
but I'm
So
able to just sit. It hurts, but I'm here. I can run my mouth no matter how much pain I'm in. And you can ask my wife that. I can just run my mouth until the end of
and and
time.
and there is a challenge that I'm going to have, and chat. You guys can understand this. Um, I think that some of Mr. Snidbit's hate for these films may be sparked by um, the pain and the medication. So I challenge him once he's recovering to go back and watch these films, and then we can do a recap of pre drugs and post drugs. So it can be one of those little
Pre-op and
label things.
post-op.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yes.
What was your
I'll say
post-op
pre-drugs.
review? I like it. No, the idea. So what's interesting is of these two films, of the three things we watched this week, Loki. I don't think even like that. That's the best part of this week.
Yeah.
These films were kind of. I was excited about both of them, but much more excited about Gunpowder Milkshake. And then now I would have to say the better of the two films was Space Jam. And I don't know if I like saying that. I don't want to say that because I wanted to. The acting, well, I mean, it's much like Marvel, I was saying.
Yeah.
It's a sports movie. Don Cheadle had the best chops in the movie, and they digitized his voice so much it was hard to tell. Um,
Yeah. Well, they kind of just basically said, "Here's money. Just do what you want." And like, I like Don Cheadle in pretty much everything he does. I mean,
yeah.
you can't get much better than like in the Ocean's movies. Because I just thought he was great in the Ocean's movies.
Because he has a British accent, right? In those?
Yes.
Yeah. He also did Hotel Rwanda, which is really hard to watch, but very good.
Hmm.
I love a lot of his early stuff. Boogie Nights is my favorite role of his because he plays one of the porn stars, but he also just plays the guy that's trying to fit into everything, all the new trends, and so he like runs around as a cowboy in the '70s, which is just like who does that? But I just loved that character. He's very quirky. Yes, they did set the bar very low for acting with Michael Jordan, and that's fine. Again, you don't hire basketball NBA players because they're actors. You hire them because they're tall and they can shoot a basketball on camera really well. The acting's not there. What bothered me was, and this is ridiculous because I haven't heard Mel Blanc do Bugs Bunny since 1969 or 8, somewhere in there before he died. And yet, to me, if I don't hear Mel Blanc, I don't see Bugs Bunny. I think it's an imposter, a betrayer of my childhood. And so knowing that all the characters were played by actors this time, not just the voice actors that normally play them on the TV shows, but actually
Hmm.
like, Zendaya was Babs. And I'm just like, what? Really? Like you couldn't
Yeah.
hire out like you had
But
to
in
get,
all honesty,
I
like
don't
I
know.
didn't really pick up on it being Zendaya. Like I knew it was her, but it was. I mean, it wasn't just Babs as voiced by Zendaya. I think she did a little bit better of a job than
Fair.
I'm trying to be. It's not as bad as Scoob was. Let's
Okay.
let's just face it, because like I was really upset. Like they didn't even pull Matthew Lillard for Scoob. They didn't. I
Right.
mean, they just took like even the current cartoon cast. They didn't even bring them into the movie,
Right.
which I thought was a really low blow. So
Yeah, no, they're getting worse about that only because they want to have the big name that'll draw in the crowd. And I get it. She's huge right now. You want to put her name on a movie. It makes sense to me. Like she's all over
yeah,
Instagram. She's all over Marvel. She's huge. She
yeah,
did the Greatest Showman. Like so, she's
yeah.
she's blowing up. But
Hmm.
it still made it hard. That's one of the reasons I had to shut the movie off and come back to it because when I kept hearing Bugs talk, I was like, dude, that is not Bugs Bunny. Oh, and may I mention, just as an aside, since we're gonna just do this, Bugs Bunny is not a nice guy. If you watch Looney Tunes, he's the sarcastic jerk to everyone. I know he's supposed to be our hero, but he's mean to everyone, even when they don't necessarily deserve it.
But if you think about like where we meet Bugs at this point, like he's been stranded for a long time
Hmm.
on Toon World or
He's
whatever.
desperate. He's lonely. Oh,
He's desperate,
he's
and
going a little crazy.
yeah, yeah.
So.
So you could definitely see that, and at this point, like he's got to be himself, or he's trying to reclaim himself, which is the whole point of why they want to be. He keeps telling them to be serious on the court, but they need to be tunes. They're coming back to it. I mean, let's face it. We found Sylvester the cat
I liked these.
The from Austin Powers. He was the cat. You had Elmer Fudd as Mini Me. You had Granny as Trinity. You had
Oh, don't
I
forget
don't know what
Pepe
Speedy
Le
Gonzalez
Pew. Yeah,
was.
or not Pepe.
What?
Yeah, Speedy Gonzalez was also like another. He was just in the Matrix too.
Yes. And what was funny was, there was a lot of hate for Speedy Gonzalez in this film when people were talking about casting, but it was Gabriel Iglesias, and like
Why
he
would?
actually went Fluffy
No, I know, but
from
why are they upset? Like,
well, no, he wasn't, but like people were upset because they're thinking like he was an out of date character, and it's almost like a racial stereotype. And Gabriel Iglesias had to go online and basically said, "Back off. He's a typical cartoon character. Let's not worry about racial
well, and
whatever."
nobody would have had a problem with Pepe Le Pew if he wasn't, a little, a little too far with things. If
Not only
that
did he
weren't the
stink, he had
case,
a little bit of rapey vibes. Let's just face it.
if he didn't have those vibes, if he was
Yeah,
just a dude that was like in the baguettes and and did the French thing, nobody would have a problem with
yeah,
that. Like we would have, that skunk would still be around. It was
yeah,
the very inappropriate nature of what he was doing that we all objected to. So I would love to see if they would
yeah,
like redo that character and bring him back. I think that'd be fun, just
yeah.
because But everybody else, yeah, I don't see the problem. Fog. I mean, okay, uh, Bugs is from New York, no doubt. He's at least from like upstate New York. Daffy is also from New York. Like they're both totally New York characters. Tweety, Sylvester, I swear, like Boston area. Like they're all East Coast characters for the most part.
Can I
They're
can I also say Wile E. Coyote was actually one of those breakthrough like characters in this film. Like I liked him a lot more than I normally do in the cartoons.
because he's not a good guy.
But he was like sinisterly awesome in this film, and I know I probably butchers like the idea of it, just him being bad, but then the way he acted, like I liked him a lot in this film. I'm just saying.
What did the chat think of this film? Because I'm curious. I want more input on this film because I've heard a lot of things on TikTok today and a lot of things online about how people felt, and I've heard a lot of mixed reviews actually. So I'm kind of curious because right here you're getting to a mixed review. You got one that likes it and you got one that doesn't, and I think that's obvious so far. But even though I didn't like it, there are some definite redeeming qualities, and it has a dad story, which for me, man, will kill me every time. Having your dad pass away will make every story with a dad in it kill you.
And then when
Um,
you have a kid, it's even worse.
right. So like, yeah, no. So like, you get what I'm saying. Anyway,
Yeah,
so yeah, whenever I see dads doing good, I go, I wish my dad would have done that. So,
yeah.
uh, yes, Muncie, I agree. I think chat's way behind us. Maybe. I thought I had the delay off. Maybe I don't. The story, I don't think we really need to go down because it is a pretty simple story, and they did a pretty good job of tying up their little loose ends, in the little bits in the beginning. Um, I appreciated that to where nothing was kind of left loose, except maybe the way that they got rid of Ali G Rhythm. I don't know. The posterization thing was a little odd.
Well, it
Uh,
was a callback to when he was playing it in the room with his kid.
Yeah, I know. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I buy that as a way to get rid of a digital. I don't know. Is
Yeah,
that
I
ridiculous of
think
me? Probably.
I'm sorry. Let's just talk about the entire preface of that they scanned all of the people from their phones into the game.
I mean,
Like,
that's apt to what people think about technology today. So they added a little element of people being afraid
yes,
of technology.
yeah. The only way they could have made it even better for like people that are paranoid is just said, the reason why they were able to scan in was because they got the vaccine, and it was the chip inside that helped them, download into the phone.
It should have just been if you're afraid to be scanned in, you get scanned in. So you better not
Yeah,
be afraid of
exactly.
it. And I agree with you. There is an element of that, and there was some political stuff in there more than I expected. It was subtle, but little jabs at things that I didn't expect in a
Mhm.
kids movie, but were there. Um,
Well, they're trying to play for both. I mean,
they
let's
were.
face it, they were definitely.
Absolutely. I do love that for some reason I thought that kid might have been LeBron's kid, even though I know that's not LeBron's kid and that's an actor, but they
Yeah.
did a good enough job. I believed them. So I think that's pretty good. I don't know.
Wait, that wasn't his kid?
No.
It's all the world is a lie.
Well, yeah, yeah. No, and I figured that going in, but some of me, always kind of goes, well, I don't know these actors. Maybe it is because
Maybe.
Ice Cube's son played him in the biopic about NWA. So like it happens, it does
Mhm.
happen. So you can never tell. Anyway, uh, I loved Marvin the Martian because I love Marvin the Martian. You're right
Yes.
about Wile E. Coyote. He did such a good job. As much as I didn't like the Mad Max crossover, I also loved Wile E. Coyote in the Mad Max crossover at the same
Yes.
time. Like, I was
Yes.
like, why? And then he's like, puts up the sign, witness me, and I'm like, oh, dude, I'm in on that one. And then he sprays his
He
teeth.
sprays
Like,
himself.
I'm just like, holy crap, okay, he would fit in that world. And I like how they spread them out to these different worlds. But if anything, like if anybody's anybody who's anybody knows, Warner Brothers straight ripped Ready Player One off. Like all the worlds are the same. Like they do these little worlds, and not that that's Ready Player One's idea, but the look is exactly the same. And if
Did-
you watch Straw Hat Goofy, or was it Straw Hat Goofy, or was it somebody else? I watched somebody today who pointed out the Iron Giant is exactly the same Iron Giant from Ready Player One, just brought over because the Iron Giant in this movie is not finished, but the Iron Giant in the real movie is completely built.
Oh, I didn't have a chance to look at that. Oh, I literally just finished a movie before we got
Okay.
the stream. So,
So
like
yeah,
any
go
Easter
look at his
eggy, yeah.
back. His back is completely unfinished, like it was in Ready Player One when they were building him.
That
And
would make sense
so,
because they already had it rendered that way.
right, and he's a Warner Brothers product, so that they let them go. They literally just pulled that model in, and I'm just like, come on, Michael Bay, come on, guys, like do it. If you're gonna spend the money and say we're awesome, spend the money and show us you're awesome. But
Okay, and
that's just
can
me.
we
Go
just
ahead.
say that there was like an hour worth of the basketball game, and I'm sitting there like this movie is almost over, and then I looked at how much time was left, and I'm sitting there like the only way that they could do this is if they actually Zack Snyder this whole thing. And not only did we get a black and white scene in this basketball game, we got lots of slow motion. We actually got a character that altered time,
Right.
and, and there's a lot of slow motion to this game. And I'm sitting there, and when they were talking about the algorithm, how the algorithm is the one that pushes all of Warner Brothers ideas, I literally looked at my wife, and said, "This is the reason why we get things like the Snyderverse."
Yes, it is.
The
It's funny
algorithm out there,
because I mean,
we're
it's the same
stupid, but we're
company.
all
It is
stupid.
literally
Yeah,
the same company that did it, so it makes perfect
yep,
sense.
yeah.
Um, no, I liked that the tunes I actually got a little excited when the tunes were like, "We're gonna go tune," and I was like, "Yeah, you are." And they started pulling when Tweety was like, "Whoa, the train's coming," I was like, "Here we go. This is what we wanted."
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
liked those parts. I didn't mind
Yeah.
them digitized. I thought they looked really good in 3D animation.
Yeah.
I didn't expect them to.
I liked
And
how they made it a process that they didn't want to go through.
right,
Like,
that's what I mean. Like I
yeah.
accepted it
Yeah.
because they were like, "Whoa, we're 2D animation. What are you doing to us?"
Yep.
So they broke the fourth wall a few times. There were a couple of
Yeah.
moments where people were like, "Who are you talking to?" And I'm like, "It's weak fourth wall breaking, guys. Weak
Yep.
fourth week,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
fine.
because it's popular now. I mean,
I know.
they're trying to Deadpool it. Yeah.
And then, did you hear the big controversy that She-Hulk is going to be breaking the fourth wall, and that's not allowed because Deadpool did it first?
Oh, I can't stand. I think I did a video about it. Like, like she did. Like I did. I did a video. I actually showed a clip from a comic book where it has her breaking the fourth wall. Like it said, like whatever in the next panel, or no, it's like you guys will find out, but I won't find out till the next issue or
Right,
something.
right. And this is like
And it's like,
1978,
yeah,
79.
she did
Yeah,
it. She did it like 10 years before Deadpool did. And the
right.
thing is, Dead. See, you did this to me. It's your fault now. Deadpool, because I think you also asked me something about Rob Liefeld. You had a question about that. Rob Liefeld did not write Deadpool to be what we know him as.
Right.
It wasn't until later on. I can't remember the writer now, but I'll probably do a TikTok video about it. Deadpool was made as a direct port of Deathstroke.
Right.
So don't everybody talks about, oh well, Deadpool did it first. Yeah, Deadpool, they rewrote him. So She-Hulk did it from her original runs of stuff. So just back off.
I would also argue that Ryan Reynolds has come along and rewrote him again because he's not quite the character that he was. He's actually a little different even in the comic than Ryan Reynolds has made him, which is fine. I don't mind these versions, especially considering we'll get to Loki here in a minute.
Yeah,
because that's literally where we're headed if we're not careful.
back to
Space Jam.
Yes.
I oh the oh, there was another reference I wanted to point out and I forgot it.
There's a lot of references in this film. There was a lot of references. Um, it was interesting to see where all of the characters were, how they're all trying to fit into like different WB properties.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think my favorite by far was Foghorn Leghorn in the Game of Thrones world, where he's riding, yelling, "Winter's coming." Um, that and the Austin Powers one was fantastic. Um, what was this?
What is he saying? I have seen that comic strip so many times, but I haven't seen others. So was it a one? Was it a one off? I think he's trying to say off example, or was it all the same thing? Or
No.
So she does it all the time.
Yeah, She-Hulk broke the fourth wall all the time. She didn't do it to the extent that Deadpool did.
Right.
Deadpool, I mean, literally like mocks the writers and the artists and stuff, and
she would talk to us for a few minutes and like, hey, this is going to happen or that happened or can you believe he said that? That kind of stuff.
Exactly. Or his variant covers for his comic books were literally a comic book in itself, and he was like, going on an adventure with the UPC barcode. So you have those things like that.
I would say she's closer to like a Ferris Bueller fourth wall breaking, while he's like literally like, hey guys, I know you're watching me, stop it.
Yeah.
Or look what I can do.
Or basically like would be basically talking and identifying, oh, this is a typical comic trope or something like that. Like she would be like, wow, this has never been done before, that kind of thing, where it's like she knows. Or she would be the kind of person, I don't know if she's ever said this in the comic book, it's like, listen, you may not like me like this, but this is the way I'm written or something. It would be more nonchalant like that.
Agreed.
So
I heard yelling. Weird. Anyway, okay. I would say that Yelena has a good chance of being a fourth wall breaker with the way she acted in Black Widow, with all of her like, you're such a poser. I loved all the like posing stuff. We never really got into that enough last week.
Like I could literally see Yelena be like, who are you doing this for? Like,
right. Like, look over here. Like, what are you doing?
Like, do you see we're by ourselves? Like that kind of thing.
And make fun of them for the rest of the time. Yeah. Okay. So there was a part in Space Jam that I wanted to go back to, because I this movie's more just like, what Easter eggs did you see and did you like it or not? And do we really want to break down the story? Do we really want to get like all nitty gritty on this kid's flick?
It's like, let your kids be who they are.
Right.
And support them and realize that your life experiences aren't your own. You're your kids.
It's a brilliant
there
message.
Are things that you can provide, but you've got to kind of see in the world that they're living at this point. So you just saw the whole meaning of the story. But
that was a perfect sum up of the entire plot of Space Jam. Now add in cartoon characters, the WB and Don Cheadle, and you have this movie. It starts to, I don't know, the more we do that, the more I'm like, this isn't that good. It's eye candy. It's a roller coaster. If you're not going into this expecting to just try to pick out the Easter eggs, then you're going into it for the wrong reason. I would never tell somebody to go watch this movie with anything more than just like, go have as best a time as you can.
Yes.
Lower your expectations, just walk in and enjoy. Yeah. If you're a dad that has to have a beer, it might make it a little better. I'm just saying.
And I probably would say the best acting out of the whole thing was the ball dispenser.
The little tear. That was great. No, the ball dispenser. Okay, I actually got a little happy and excited when Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner did the ball dispenser thing at the end. I thought that was fantastic, where they were just like boop, 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 and I knew it had to have a problem. He was involved. It had to have a technical issue.
That was phenomenal, but I was actually not talking about that one. I was talking about the ball dispenser. I was talking about the acting of the film. Like the best acting out of the film was at the beginning with that ball dispenser.
Oh, that ball dispenser! I thought.
Yes.
I thought you were talking about the cartoon one, which actually had a little character to it.
Fantastic. And I was trying to figure out a way to segue into that, but so thank you for that. That's,
no, it's just the same way I feel about.
This show's been brought to you by Percocet.
Everybody did have that. Oh, there were two characters I did enjoy that were kind of beyond just the flatness that was LeBron and his son, and even Don Cheadle to that effect. It's not like I hate him for it, but it felt like a flat role for him. There's so much more he can do, and
Yeah.
the characters I liked were the brother and the brother. So the LeBron's brother and his son's brother were both
Right.
hilarious and ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I loved
Yeah.
his brother was crying and he couldn't keep himself together and he was like constantly trying to get clout and like, what do you mean we can't sell to HBO? Let's do this, And I just liked
Yeah.
that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just felt good.
And then like, all right, scan me.
Right.
Stand
And
like an
then
idiot.
and it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they steered away from some tropes they could have gone down, and I'm glad they didn't. They kept away from the Babs Bugs like love story. I'm glad they avoided that.
There's a lot of things that can be considered in our day and time as problematic with Looney Tunes, and they really avoided all of that.
Right, they did.
Yeah, so that was interesting.
Sylvester was a skinless cat at one point.
Yes, in the Austin Powers.
Yeah. And I don't know how I feel about all those like they took real movie chunks and just added cartoon characters and LeBron into them. I don't know. It was weird. The only one I felt right about was the New Adventures of Superman, because that was all shot like New Adventures of Superman or even Justice League, possibly because I know Batgirl was in there, but I'm not sure if that was the right Batgirl. But Aquaman was there and he had the hook, so I think it is Justice League that they were in that world because there was no Batman.
And then I actually liked how Babs was in the mascara.
Oh yeah, interesting. That was. And did you like how they had the like panel look over everything through that whole scene? Everything had that like checkered look.
Pretty legit. Yeah,
I like that too. So like that's the stuff that I enjoy about this movie. It's talking about those little things that are fun to talk about, but nothing at the beginning or the end made me go. Ooh.
Oh, and we can't forget. I loved how Rick and Morty was the one that dropped off the Tasmanian Devil.
Okay, so that's caused a bit of controversy among Rick and Morty fans. So like the diehards, right? Not the regular folk like you and me. So the diehard fans are like, why is Rick and Morty in a Space Jam movie? What a sellout. It's like, dude, you don't know Rick Sanchez if you don't think he would have sold out. Or even said, you want me to experiment on a Looney Tune? Oh, sure, why not? Those two things are right in his character.
I think the only thing was we didn't get a burp and we didn't get him using profanity, which I knew we wouldn't get that, but it was just, I felt like it was a very vanilla Rick Sanchez, which is fine. We got him in the film, but there's a couple like you could tell like even Morty seemed a little bit like mellow about it. He's like, I can't unsee the things I've seen. Like it was like I can see where people were upset because it didn't feel like true like Rick and Morty form, but
would we want that Space Jam movie?
No, that would have been rated PG-13 just for that.
Right. Just for their existence. That's what's funny. Like Dan Harmon, no doubt, was like, you want me to put Rick and Morty in a Space Jam movie? Yeah. Because this stuff is a joke to me and you're making me money. Because that's why Rick and Morty exists. It's not because he has this passion project. The Community was his passion project. There have been other things that were this dude's passion project. Not Rick and Morty.
The only way it would have been go is like, it would be like, all right, Morty, let's go get let's take these royalties and go play Roy or something like that,
Oh God. Okay, so have you watched season 4?
I've watched all the way up to season 4. I watched the first episode of season 5. I've got the rest on the DVR.
Okay, I haven't started season 5, so let's avoid that. But I have watched all but the last episode of season 4 because I'm on the Joker. Oh my God! Thank you for the subscription. That's amazing. 5 months in the real Triad theater, if you will, or the Snidbits theater, the theater of life. So the Rick and Morty thing to me, it's I don't know. If I made Rick and Morty and they were like, you want to put that in, I would be like, yeah, where's my $1 million paycheck? Yes, you can put my Rick and Morty in. Like, if the fans don't understand that that's why Rick and Morty exists, then they're not real fans in the first. And I'm not trying to gatekeep. I'm just saying it's kind of okay.
Rick Sanchez is a sellout, but he's the real, or he's the only real Rick. It's
right. So I saw a guy on TikTok. I TikTok too much, everybody. Anyway, I saw a guy on TikTok holding a sign on the side of the road, and the sign said, "Honk if you desire unneeded. If you need, what did it say? honk if you need uh, God, see, my brain doesn't work because I'm having surgery. Honk if you need recognition from strangers. All right. And people are driving along and nobody's honking for the most part because most people are reading the sign. And occasionally, meh, meh, and a guy'd be like, I don't think they get it. And that's kind of what I feel about with Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty fans don't even get Rick and Morty because if if you actually like Rick and Morty, like it, you're a poser because that's the point.
Yeah, you're not a real Rick fan because Rick doesn't care about anything.
Right.
Nothing's real. Nothing exists. There's an infinite amount of multiverses where Rick doesn't give a care.
And yes, there is a deal with HBO. So since HBO owns Rick and Morty now because they were sold, same with Cartoon Network, HBO owns so much now. It's not even funny. They're as big as Disney in so many ways, but nobody wants to say that. But they are. That's why this movie exists, because they were like, we have 1,000 properties. We can make this stupid movie. That's the one. Honk if you're not easily manipulated. Thank you. And thank you for correcting me, Muncie, because you must have seen the same TikTok. That's funny to me because that sign to me were, and please, no offense to those who may take offense. But yeah, you're missing the point of Rick Sanchez if you think he's cool, because he's not cool and he knows he's not.
Yep.
And he breaks the fourth wall more than anybody. In fact, he's aware you're watching him at all times. At all times, he's aware of you.
Literally, he addresses you like in the show.
Right.
Like it's obvious.
Right. Rick and Morty 100 years.
We're going to save this until we'll wait until season 10 for this one.
Right. He says it from the very get-go, the very first episode. And of course, that's why those of us that grew up with it.
For 100 years.
For Rick and Morty forever. Sorry.
Days.
I love that episode. So anyway, we digress. We could talk about Rick and Morty for a whole episode. What is going on? Lady Crossheart, thank you so much.
Hey.
She is giving us a man. My brain is not working tonight, Marvelite.
Lady Crossheart jumped into my stream a couple days ago, so she is amazing.
Welcome, Commander Crossheart. She is the commander. We like to call her Commander Crossheart, and then she is also hosting, is what I was trying to think. Us right now, which is awesome. Thank you, everybody, for the subscriptions, for the hosts, for being here and talking about this ridiculousness.
And the biddies.
And the biddies. Thank you. I didn't see the biddies. Even though they're called biddies, I should see them. Why don't we go ahead and rate?
And the subscription for 5 months.
Right? God, Joker's the man. We're going to go ahead and rate Space Jam. And let's move on to Gunpowder Milkshake so we can get a good chunk of time for Loki, because I really want to talk a lot about Loki. Especially the implications, I think, more than anything. We are great, Lady Crossheart. How are you doing, and how is the chat doing? Love seeing everybody here. This is awesome.
It's a great chat.
The more we talked about Space Jam, the more I liked it. Is that weird?
Yeah. No, it's not weird at all.
It's kind of
I know
you're adding a little nostalgia to it.
You have to stew on it a little bit. There's a lot, and then you also notice that the aliens from the original Space Jam were in it as well.
Yeah, they were there.
Yep. Well, literally everybody was there.
I know. That's the one part I think that bothered me, was the giant advertisement of it all. I'm gonna give it a 5. I'm going to give it a 5. So I'm going to give it right on the line because I think it's mood based. If I was in the right mood, I'd watch it again. If I was in a bad mood, I'd be like, don't turn that on. And I think that's what it boils down to. And my 12-year-old self would probably give it like an 8 because it was the bugs. And I loved I'm not a basketball person, but who didn't like Michael Jordan, which means it would probably translate to who doesn't love, LeBron James kind of a thing. So it's, for me, I probably still would have loved it.
Yeah. I'm just going to say this. When they did the flashback to 1998, I got really emotional because I realized that this is the first Space Jam. And I'm realizing this and I said this before, we're getting old and crusty. The main character of this film is younger than me, and I don't know how to quantify that. It's just like at least.
Wait, LeBron James is younger than you?
Well, in 1998, he was like what, junior high? So I was in like at least 9th grade at that time. So, because I graduated in 2001, which makes me feel younger than at least you. So sorry.
I graduated in 95, so we're not that far apart.
So yeah, so literally like LeBron James was what in junior high basketball in
Right.
'98. So
So yeah,
I'm just realizing like
you're the
these
dad in that
guys are getting
movie.
older, or they're getting younger than me, and I'm realizing like I'm having a problem with this. Um, but I would probably say I would give this, I'd say about a 6.5. Again, it's not a perfect film. It was a good watch. It was a fun watch, especially with my kid. Always trying to find something to watch. With my kid. And if anything, I have to give it I'll give it an extra. I'll say 7, just for the fact that this might actually get my kid into wanting to watch like Looney Tunes. And then at that point, I can be like, oh yeah, I can my son can appreciate something from his old father. Other than just Jurassic Park 24/7. So
Or Marvel,
yeah, well, he had a Spider-Man face, but dinosaurs have been eating up everything in him.
I bet.
It's like dinosaurs and Nintendo Switch, and so which I
That'll do
can't
it.
complain.
No,
Yeah,
those are great things.
yeah. Well,
Oh,
he teaches me Minecraft, so that's how it works.
you and I need to play Minecraft sometime. So that
Yeah.
aside, we did not talk about Porky Pig and his rap battle.
Oh yeah, but you mean his rap battle?
But yeah, that was pretty good. I why not give it to the one guy you would never expect to be able to rap? I kind of liked that. But it was almost like a weird like verbal throwback to the Dancing Shoes episodes with Porky Pig.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a verbal version of that, but he didn't, rap himself to death, I guess.
Yeah.
That's old Looney Tunes was dark. Okay. Space Jam. We've got it under our belt. We're going to move on.
Oh, yep.
Here, we should do one of these just for the sake of fun. And I have the ability, so.
Oh yeah, as a kid, I probably would have given this like an 8.
Got a little cheer there. Anyway, that being said, we are going to move back over to the poster wall. And so now we're going to move on to Gunpowder Milkshake. Gunpowder Milkshake is a movie starring Karen Gillan, known as Nebula for those that are into the MCU. Also, starring some really awesome and amazing actresses. I just want to get the list out here. That way, where is my Gunpowder Milkshake? Where is it?
The one you don't need any looking of references Angela Bassett.
No, I know. I just didn't want to miss anybody is what it boiled down to. So yeah, we got Angela Bassett, we've got Lena Headey, we've got where is she? Michelle Yeoh, and then Paul Giamatti plays one of the baddies, who's amazing. And then where was the other? She's in all of Zack Snyder's films. Where is she? You know who I'm talking about.
I'm trying to think.
Why is she just not right here on the front? Oh, Carla.
Gugino.
Thank you, Gugino or Gugino. I cannot say her name. I'm gonna say it wrong. Anyway, I love her in virtually everything. She's fantastic in everything. So I think you started off Space Jam. I'll start this one off since it was my pick. I was really, really, really excited for this film, and we'll go back over here where you guys can see us. I was really excited for this film. I think the trailer was good. I think the color palette they chose was really great. I really liked the way it looked and felt. But as I started to watch the movie, I started to realize that it felt like a completely different movie than I expected, and it felt like a cheap knockoff of Lucky Number 11 to me. And as I started to watch, I felt like there was just no emotion from anybody, including Karen. Like, Nebula has so much more depth than this character did. She just stood stale-faced for the whole film. This was much what I call the Rogue One effect, where Felicity just stood there through the whole movie, just like this one look on her face, and I'm like, is that the dramatic look? I'm not understanding the emotion here. And I felt like this through this movie, and then it felt like some of the action was good and some of it wasn't. Like, I really liked some of the action, especially the like close-knit fight scenes. I especially like the duct tape scene, or the taped scene. I think that was one of the best scenes in the whole film. I'm trying not to ruin it because we haven't really talked about spoilers here. But as far as some of the like And I know the movie was meant to be over the top. I understand that. Like I get the reference that it's like a wannabe Tarantino style over the top action comedy. The problem is the action has to wow me and I have to laugh. And I didn't have either of those two things happen. And if you're going to go over the top, I need to be able to laugh over the top and be wowed over the top, not just because that's how I felt. And I tried watching this movie 3 different times. I put it on and then I turned it off and then I put it on and then I turned it off and then I put it on and then I turned it off. And again, Marvelite's right. This is possible. I could be just in a really bad mood. It's possible. I will rewatch this movie because I think it deserves that chance. But when you're sitting in a Porsche that they don't declare has bulletproof glass, and the little girl's all of a sudden like a drifting master. I don't know how that happened. But the guys that are shooting at them are shooting right at. Thank you for the follow. Thank you. The guys are shooting right at this Porsche windshield, and there's not one bullet hole or speck or mark being put on this windshield. And she literally tells the little girl, "Don't worry about the windshield." I'm just like, what? Why all of a sudden is this windshield perfect? Out of all the cars in this, like, she can tell it's bulletproof, and why would it be in a Porsche? Porsches are designed for lightweight, and everybody else's windows were shattered. I don't know. The whole thing kind of fell apart in that moment for me. The whole movie started to unravel when I was like, there's nothing grounded in even reality here, which I want. Even in Kill Bill, everything's still grounded in some form of reality. Like when she goes after the crazy 88 and they're bleeding all over the place, it's in Kung Fu style, so I accept it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that.
Anyway, so
I think the idea here is in the Kill Bill franchise, like you go in knowing it's a Tarantino film, so you know that there is there's a suspense of reality, and you're expecting that, and the style also expects that as well. So,
do you see who's in the chat?
All the movie things, dude.
What's up, man? It's good to see you. We're both glad to see you here. The diner scene near the end was pretty sweet. Now, I'm going to be honest. Things have been crazy because I'm getting neck surgery, and I was watching this movie on chat with Marvelite before we started. Not done.
Didn't get there.
So I've not seen that scene. So I'm going to be very upfront. I will always tell you guys if I don't make it to the movie.
What scene did you end at?
She was getting to the diner for the final scene.
Okay.
So I'll watch it. We just reviewed Space Jam. Here, let's let all the movie things see. Since he's not seen our show before, let's let him take a look at how we do things. These are the movies we're reviewing tonight. Of course, What If will be next week, or not next week, but upcoming when it comes available. We will review it. So next month. We don't have anything listed for next week, only because we're not 100% sure we'll have a show next week, because I'm going through surgery. So anyway, thank you. I worked fairly hard on the layout over the time. It's a combination of my work and Marvelite's work. Here, I'm going to show him the intro. We're going to go quiet. So yeah, just a little fun peruse. And then we've got where is it? Oh no.
You're like me trying to show off my scenes.
I love it. Well, then we got the theater here, that it's you and me in the theater. So anyway, I figured he'd like it. He likes the layout. I want to show it off a little. Anyway, so there it is. So Gunpowder Milkshake. I want to hear Marvelite's take, since I don't want to thrash too hard on this film.
Okay, so I did not know what was going. In fact, until you mentioned it on stream last week that we were going to do it, I had no idea that there was a movie Gunpowder Milkshake coming out. Like, I've kind of been like, I go through like cycles with streaming services, and so Disney Plus and HBO Max have been kind of getting my time. And so I did not know about this. In fact, the only thing I was like looking forward to on Netflix was Fear Street, and that was I'm not going to say it.
My wife wants me to watch those.
I can't. I couldn't finish the first one, so I'm not even sure how I'm going to go into the next two. So, I literally just said I have to turn this trash off. That's pretty much how it went. And so I went into it expecting nothing. I think I may have watched a trailer before I watched the film, and so I was working and I was watching it in between work and stuff. And and I had to stop it because I couldn't focus on it like I did. So I actually, after I got off work, I sat on my in my chair and I actually put my Oculus VR goggles on and I watched it like in a huge screen, and I liked the heck out of it. I really did like the film. I acknowledge it's not perfect, but um, I just I accepted that there was more to the story and that there was more going on than I would ever see. It's very much like the whole John Wick thing where you meet this unsuspecting man. There's a story behind it. You know, we know that Karen Gillan's character has this like trauma of being abandoned by her mom, but her mom was not as much at fault in it in the fact that she was trying to protect her daughter. And you have this that she basically follows in her mom's steps. Well, you know, the world is very big and we don't know it. The only couple things I didn't like was the firm had no purpose for us to really know the board other than they were a bunch of like entitled old rich white men. Um,
It could have
which
been just Paul Giamatti. It wouldn't have mattered.
it could have been Paul Giamatti with like a group with like of shadow characters,
Right.
or like someone could have opened the door and he looked up and he could have really he would have just like responded to somebody that we didn't see off camera,
Sure.
and
Or what about
it
just
would have been
keeping
it
them
would have
through that glass door and never opening the door, just like seeing
yeah.
their
And then
silhouettes?
you have like the white male embodiment of Peabody from Peabody and Sherman like shaking his head no, and I didn't think it was necessary for that. um and so because you don't really, and that was the thing, like that was the problem I had with, like, I think it was John Wick 3,
I still haven't seen
where
that
you
one.
kind of, yeah, so just be prepared. Like, the great part about John Wick was the whole mystery of the organization and like how deep it runs.
Hmm.
Well, you kind of figure that out, and it becomes more bureaucratic in the third one, and you're just like, ugh.
Hmm.
So,
Maybe I'll like
so
that.
I don't know if you didn't like this film,
That's fair.
but the thugs, I liked the thugs. I liked the fact that they were all on her side, but trying to bring her in, and she just like demolished them. Which I thought the bowling alley scene was a great scene. I thought the kidnappers and how they're handled. I'm trying not to do spoilers.
Oh, do you want me
I
to put
thought
the
was a little
spoiler up?
over the top. Yeah, you might as well do it. So, guys, just be prepared. If you haven't watched this film and you don't want to be spoiled, this is a good time to mute because I'm gonna really just like ruin your day for you. So I thought the interaction between the two, where they crash the car and then they start getting in a shootout because the one's running away and then the guy drops a grenade. I thought that was the dumbest reason for her to screw up possible. It's like they didn't even look in the bag. She literally could have brought them an empty bag full of newspapers at that point and they would have never known, because they never show them looking in the bag to make sure. They just grabbed the bag and ran.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, there's a little bit of sloppy writing. I'm just gonna say it, but I liked the film as a preference. I think I liked it more once we got to the doctor scene where again they taped her hands and she's just wiping them out with numb arms.
I laughed at that scene.
There wasn't a lot of good. Yeah, I laughed a lot. There wasn't a lot of good humor, like actual like one liners and stuff. I think the biggest like joke was the girl's like, I'm 8 3/4. Like, that was probably the funniest like actual given joke in the whole thing.
I liked
Um,
the book joke, but that's just
right.
me.
Oh yeah, I like the book. Like, okay, once I got to the library, I was sold on the film, especially like you need an Austin, you need this, you need that. Um, and then like going in and like just seeing them, like how bad the librarians really were. Like, they were like tough cookies. And um I don't know. The villains weren't that great until you got to the end, and this is where you're not at. When you finally meet the father, that's basically sending all these goons after them.
The one that made him put his
Um,
shoe back on his son.
yeah, you like he's a nasty dude, and like he's a very like respectful, like he's basically like, listen, I have no problem with you, or you're obviously good at what you do, and it was just a job. Um, but I'm gonna make you wish you were dead. Like he just, and like you get this idea of just how bad he was. And then I'm not gonna ruin it for you because there are spoilers for that. But
I've got the
ultimately, I mean,
spoiler
it's,
sign up. No, I'm kidding, of course.
I know, but I'm not gonna spoil it for you because
I appreciate that.
the chat has the opportunity to mute the stream, and they do it on their own volition. But you're stuck with me.
I am,
Um,
but I love it, so it's okay.
but and again, I think that's the thing. You have to remember, it's not a perfect film, but I think for a Netflix action film, and this is coming from a guy, and maybe this will make it worse. I liked the first Netflix babysitter movie. I didn't care for the second one.
Oh
I
yeah,
liked
dude,
first
The
one.
Babysitter,
Yes.
phenomenal film.
And so I know, like, and there were holes in that film as well, but it was still a good film. And I think that I think this, even though it had holes and stuff, I thought it was a great film. And I hope they don't make a sequel though, because at this point it's just like, leave it be its own thing, unless it's a really compelling story, because then we get something like Killer Queen, and we don't need that.
So
So
that movie, see, the problem with The Babysitter was that the second movie tried to reestablish its identity as a film that was too aware of itself, and the first film was
well,
not aware of itself, and that's what bothered me. The first film was
what
trying
was
to be
worst about
real.
that film, yeah, but the worst part about that film was the entire first babysitter movie. Cole is coming into himself, and he's confident with himself,
Right.
and then you basically turn around and make it sound like, oh, Cole, no one believes Cole, and so he's still that awkward, panicked kid that's on anxiety medication.
But they
And the
had
whole
to
film is them
Spider-Man to
trying.
him. They had to take his powers away.
Oh,
It does. It's the sequel
you had
problem.
to do that.
It's a sequel
Ugh.
problem. Every sequel has this problem. We got to give the character
Yeah.
some kind of problem. Well, what's the one thing you give them? You take their powers away. And in case of a kid
Yeah.
with confidence, their only power is the confidence. Take the confidence away.
And that's one of the reasons why the first Thor, is one of my least favorite films, because they do it first.
Right.
It's not even in the sequel. They did the first time.
At least it was refreshing for an origin story.
They basically He-Man and the Masters of the Universe him. That's
did.
basically what it was. I mean, come on.
So are you going to watch the Masters of the Universe, Kevin Smith?
Yes, I am.
I figured most people are.
I was a huge fan of it. Listen, I even liked the original the He-Man movie for a
The
time,
Dolph
because,
Lundgren movie?
Yes, I liked it for a while.
Nice.
But even as a kid, like, I was so mad at Skeletor, it was not even funny. Like, I was so angry about Skeletor as a kid. I went on my birthday to watch that film, and I remember I was just so disappointed in Skeletor. So,
like the way he looked, or the fact that he was
everything about him,
because he looks
the way he looked, and he was an old man. Like, he was basically don't get me started.
We should do a whole like 80s cartoon throwback movies that were ruined by 80s cartoons kind of thing.
Yeah,
because we can watch that. We could watch
it's Zoolander.
We could watch Nick.
What was the guy with the animals?
Beastmaster.
Beastmaster, yes.
Yes, Frank Langella played him. That's right.
Yep.
Beastmaster was amazing. I think if they redid Beastmaster now, it could be really cool.
Oh yeah.
Especially if it's like an animated series, that could be interesting. Because then you could still make him go shirtless.
I lost all hope in that after they did. I lost hope in them remaking a lot of the '80s like Man films because of like Conan with Mimosa or Momoa, whatever his name was.
Brian Moon said mad about Skeletor, but all for the new Masters of the Universe. So I think a lot of people are excited, especially with Kevin Smith at the helm. He's a good writer.
And with Mark Hamill as Skeletor, come on.
Yeah, no, Mark Hamill takes something that's, okay and elevates it to amazing just by being around it. He doesn't even have to be in it, just by being near it. Yes. So yes, anyway. So Gunpowder Milkshake. Yes. I see what they were trying. It definitely has a John Wick feel. It definitely feels like they were going for a female version of John Wick. Mm-hmm. I guess they're just, in the first John Wick, I had a compelling reason to follow the character. And so even though Keanu Reeves was very stoic and brooded the entire film, it didn't matter because I knew what his internal reasoning was and I knew why. Yep. With this character, they tried, but I didn't care enough. Give me a few more minutes of helping me understand why this is a big deal for this little girl. Not that your mom leaving isn't a big deal, but it felt too stylized for me to feel like I cared. Make me care about the character, and then you can get silly as shit. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about all movies. If I care about the character, you can get silly as shit, and I don't care where you go. But if you make me not care in the first 5 minutes, it's going to be a really long, hard road for me. And I just didn't care, so... That's just me.
Yeah, I get it. That's funny because the more we're talking about this, the more less I'm liking it.
And it's funny because the more we talked about Space Jam, the more I liked it.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but that's how these reviews go. And I feel like this is one of the parts I like about even doing movie stuff on TikTok is some people are like, oh, I never thought about that point. Or, yeah, I guess that's true. Because a lot of people with my,
Yeah.
especially my negative TikToks, they're like, what do you mean overrated? And I'm like, we're literally just talking about subjective opinion here, people. If you didn't think anything's overrated, then say nothing. If you think everything's overrated, then be lame and say everything. Just give me a movie or two. But nobody wants to do that. Okay, Beastmaster would
Yeah.
be awesome. I miss it, even with the contrived weapons. I don't know. It was a fun movie. All those 80s flicks, the Lady Hawk style ripoffs were all
Oh, you know
good,
what they should you know what they should remake? Like do a complete reboot remake, kind of like go back from the original one was Puppet Master. Not
Oh,
these
yeah.
crappy ones, but do Puppet Master. That would be awesome.
That's a good series. I mean, it's not great anymore, but it's not like there's some movies from that era, like The Thing, Carpenter's The Thing. I don't think they should remake that just because the special effects still hold up and the story's solid. There's no reason to
Well,
touch it.
they already did a remake of the thing.
It's a prequel and it's terrible, but yeah, it actually takes place. It's the same characters that are in The Thing. It's the Norwegians that they encounter that the dog comes from. That's what the Thing from 2011 is about. I'm a huge Carpenter nut, so
Okay.
that's my jam. Anyway, that aside, what did you think about the action in this movie? Do you think that it was stylized well? Do you think there was enough blood for as actiony as it was, or do you think they maybe should have taken that up a notch?
No, I actually thought I think that was the real pull for me was the action. The bully scene, like it was just there was a little bit. It was visceral, but it wasn't too much. I thought it was interesting because they had to run a fine line because you have a little girl in, in the midst of all these, trained killers and doing this, and so you're having to kind of see how they're going to do it. Are they going to go full gory with this kid like they did in some of the stuff with Kill Bill, or what else are you going to do? And I thought it was done tastefully. I thought that the decapitation in the car scene was a little bit much, but I'm not saying I didn't like it. I get what you're saying about the whole bulletproof glass or whatnot. I think the biggest thing was like I was waiting for the librarians to be mowed down, and the one we did get killed, like we didn't see it happen. Like we didn't you know who did it, but they kind of cut away from it, and I don't know. It just or well, she didn't die until after they got to her, but like you didn't see the blow that caused her to you know slip into death. But
True.
I
Even though,
I
like,
don't know.
when they cut the guy's throat, it was like a little cut and he died, but it was just a little blood. It was interesting.
Yeah,
It was like subtle.
yeah. And then how many times did she have to cut into their necks in the first in that first scene where they're in the hospital? Like she like cut into their necks and were like jerking that
And
knife
got stuck so many
and got
times.
stuck. Like and they're still like up and come on, you know.
Now, you
So
had to know the dude's head was going to get crushed, right?
oh yeah,
Bringing that bowling ball along, like sooner or later, a head's going to get crushed on a bowling ball. So, yeah. Anyway, don't worry about not being on topic. If you want to talk about the Swamp Thing, we are comic nerds. We will talk comics. No problem. I too
Brian
think
Moon. I'm interested though. What did you think of the Swamp Thing show? Did you watch any of that? I didn't actually see anything of it, but I mean, we have to. I mean, you have to acknowledge that that happened if it's worth it or not.
didn't it get canceled like right away?
Yeah, but
Wasn't it? But it wasn't it also
well,
based on
you
Neil
remember though.
Gaiman's
Well,
Swamp Thing?
we got to remember though. It was under DC Universe. So if you didn't have a subscription to DC Universe, you weren't going to get it.
That's right. It was one of the
Uh,
shows they let die on their app.
it's funny though because one of my favorite like podcast type like talk show shows that was on YouTube and whatever was called Popcorn Talk Network, and one of my favorite uh like hosts on that show, she left Popcorn Talk to go to DC Universe to do their talk, and then boom, she's gone. Like
That cover's awful.
what's that?
The cover, you'll see it here in a second. I just put it up to the screen.
Oh,
It's so terrible, dude.
ugh.
Look at this thing. Watch it. Oh God, it's terrible.
I mean, but really, could you? Can you? I mean, you remember the movie? like the old
Oh
movie,
yeah,
right?
that was
Like
great. Like it was Wes Craven, so it had like an
yeah,
edge to it. It was late. Was it like 79, 80? It was like right after he did like Last House on the end of or at the end of the street. Like so he was
yeah,
already on like this gritty path before he had like
yeah.
mellowed. Weirdly, that Freddy
Well, it
was when
was
he
also
mellowed,
that
but
same. It was that same time frame we got that movie, The Guyver.
yes, the Guyver dude wasn't that
That was that was the grossest movie, but it was like the most fun as a kid.
who? There's somebody in that. There's somebody very famous in that. I always forget.
I gotta look it up.
I'm looking it up right now. Anyway, so yeah, Brian, please bring up all sorts of stuff. And he said he saw some of it, but he didn't feel like it was worth it. Um, oh, that's why it's Jimmy Walker.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was like, I know somebody famous was in that show. Yes, so yeah, Jimmy Walker was in that show. Um, so yeah, Gunpowder Milkshake. You know, it's. I think
Mark
everybody should.
Hamill was in it.
That's who else I thought was in it. I thought Mark Hamill was in it. Where is he? Who was
Michael
he?
Berryman.
He played Max Reed. That's right. So this was when Mark Hamill's career had basically tanked, and he hadn't been picked up by DC as the Joker yet. So like Star Wars was dead as dead because this is in 91. So 86 was the last time, or 83 was the last time he made a solid Star Wars movie. And then the late 80s didn't treat Mark Hamill very well. Like if you look, I think he did like Village of the Damned, and like in that era too. Like while he was making the
Yeah.
Joker, and he played a priest, which was really weird. But then of course he got to do the Joker. So yeah, yes, the Guyver, all the movies of that era were so strange because either
Yeah.
they were
Well,
like
he
just
also
straight martial arts or they were like martial
yeah
arts with spiritual like weirdness.
yeah you had Michael Berryman in that, and you can't really like go without saying with him too, because like he's I mean The Hills Have Eyes, Devil's Rejects. He was in Weird Science. Like you wouldn't think about him. Like the name doesn't probably ring a bell, but if you look him up, like he had some good filmography of stuff that just kind of fit for him. So you couldn't have a horror or like a monster movie without him.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, so he plays one of the in Weird Science. He plays one of the Mad Max kind guys that comes in
Yep.
and breaks up the party. And he's like,
Yep.
"Hey, I'm a teacher. Don't tell my boss," or something to that effect.
This dude has
He's
a
great.
crazy like
Oh, he's been in
movie
everything.
history.
He's been in everything. But
Everything.
he was in The Hills Have Eyes, the original. He was one of the original
Yep.
Hill people, and that's one of the reasons I think that he broke into
Double
Hollywood.
Dragon.
So yeah, yeah, absolutely. So he's already worked, alongside a lot of
Yeah.
stuff we're talking about.
Yep.
If you like action, if you like an all female cast, there's a few dudes sprinkled, but I think this show definitely passes the Bechdel test as far as women talking about women for women's sake. So if you like that and you want to be watching some pretty good action, some funny stuff, I'd say I didn't think that it was over the top funny, but I think some people liked it, and I think some people will really, really enjoy this film, but I don't think everybody will. There will be people that feel like I do about it as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
So.
yeah, it definitely passes the Bechdel test because
You almost said
literally
the
there is
rectal test.
yeah, at this point it some of it feels the same. But like the Bechdel test, because there was there is no romantic relationship literally, but there is like literally no familial relationship whatsoever in the first place. Like you don't get like um I love you or anything really much in this film
Oh
at
yeah,
all.
no, yeah.
I think the only
Everybody's
time you
dead
get a
inside
thanks
in this movie.
mom.
Yeah.
I
No,
think the only time you
everybody's
get a
dead.
thanks mom is when the mom compliments like her daughter's killing technique or something, and she's like, "Thanks, mom." Like,
No, the only person with a soul in this entire film is the little girl.
yeah, pretty
Everybody
much.
else is literally soulless because they've been killed by. And it almost feels like that's intentional because they should
Yeah.
be. But at the same time, do I want my movies that raw, where everybody's dead inside? I don't know. I like a little humor on my good bad guys, because I did
I don't
like
know,
the
but
conversation about the serial killers.
I love the serious librarians though. I love that whole like I like the whole idea of like and you find out the mom was one of the librarians. That's how the relationship built with all of them. Um, but it makes me want to know if there's like an organization of librarians outside of the firm.
So wait,
That's like
could this tie right into the librarian with Noah Wiley?
probably not.
I'm sorry, I had to do it. I'm a movie guy, so I think of other movies when I hear things.
You know, I wish
Um,
I could do the sound effects. So I give you the womp womp womp.
oh, I guess I could have done one of these
You could have done it
beautiful,
yourself, but you wouldn't. Yeah.
but I digress. Anyway, that being said, uh, yeah, no, there are elements, but at the same time, wait, there's a show. Wait, a Gunpowder Milkshake show or a Swamp Thing show? I'm lost.
I think, yeah, it's the Swamp Thing show. I think that's what they were talking about.
Okay, just checking. I want to make sure. Oh,
Oh no, the librarians. Okay,
so wait, all the female
not
cast?
not. It's not related to. It's not related to Gunpowder Milkshake at all.
Okay, so
There's a
it's the
show
Noah
called The
Wiley.
Librarians.
What's up, Matt? How's it going, Matt?
Hey, Matt.
Come to listen about movies that you don't watch. I love it. Love it. I love that he does that. Like, it's weird, but I love it. Yes, he says. Okay, so there's a series of. Okay, I got you now. I've got you. My bad joke took us way too far aside. Okay. Do you want to say more about Gunpowder Milkshake? Because I want to give you plenty of opportunity to speak about it. You're good?
I think for the fact that you haven't watched it yet, I think we're good.
Okay.
It was a good. I enjoyed it. Will I go back and watch it anytime soon? Probably not for a while. It's not one of those movies I have to go back and watch. I'll probably end up watching Space Jam again because I'm going to go back and slow watch it to see what else I missed. So but I'm not going to spend too much time on it because Space Jam don't pay the bills on TikTok.
No. Um, Tangent Man is strong. Oh yeah, no, we can tangent. We can tangent for a while. Part of the show is built for a little bit of tangent.
The secret identity of Tangent Man is Mr. Snippets. You didn't hear it from me.
Shh. Anyway, okay. That being said, I'm gonna give Gunpowder Milkshake a 4, but I haven't finished it, so that's a 4 with an asterisk. And then, because I will finish it, and I promised that I would watch it once my surgery's over in a better mood. So I promised. So that's the only asterisk I've ever given for a review. If you were to ask 12-year-old me what I thought of this movie, I probably would have loved it. I probably would have given it an 8 because I love girl power movies. Tank Girl was one of my favorites when I was a teenager, so this would have fit right real nice into that same vein. Yeah, I would have dug it. I think now I expected more growth from the characters. I know that seems a bit much for an action movie, but they've made enough action movies with growth for the characters, so I expect it now. I don't know.
Would Tank Girl pass the Bechdel test?
Hell no.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Mind you, she didn't even need a man; she needed a dog. But
kangaroo, let's get it right. I'm
okay.
Yeah,
it was a dog.
Kangaroo men.
It was Ralph from Spaceballs, basically. Come on.
Hail Tank Girl, love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. I really do too, and I will let you guys know how it goes.
All right, good night, Matt. So you might not like the end. The diner scene that was referenced earlier. Especially if you're burnt out on slow-mo scenes like the Snyder cut, just because that entire action scene in the diner is all slow-mo. I'm just gonna tell you,
like Snyder slow-mo or regular slow-mo.
How would I describe it?
So bad it's good. Are you talking about Tank Girl? So bad it's good? Because I agree.
It was not Snyder slow-mo because Snyder did the slow-mo before any action happened, and there was really no action during the slow-mo. The entire scene is slow-mo. It's almost like bullet time the entire time, like in all the motion. It's like all the action, but just really slow. So yeah, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite thing. I probably would give this movie probably a 7. It met the need. Again, it's not because of the female cast. It's not because of any of that. I literally was most excited when I saw Angela Bassett and Karen Gillan. And my favorite group, like all 5 of them were fantastic. Like, just I could watch them kill people all day. If that was just a movie, like your library book is due, and you kill him.
Oh, dude, I want to see that movie.
I would watch that all day long. I think the premise of it was a little bit too like it gets a little bit tropey. I feel like we've got this underworld, firm that is controlling things, and there are allegiances and there are codes, and they broke the code, or she went too far because she killed one of the people that she was in alliance with. And of course, they go to the secret hospital, and in order to get weapons, you have to go somewhere. And instead of being, fitted with a suit, you're given library books. So there's a lot of things that are like troped off of, and I think that shows in the writers. And let's face it, a lot of times a movie suffers because of the writers.
Right.
If you we really we talked about Black Widow, but you saw that the post about what happened, that the best part, one of the best lines or jokes in Black Widow was actually because the director allowed Pew to basically um ad lib, because the joke that was in the writing by the male writer for Black Widow um, did not. He basically was wanting to joke about her being on her period, not realizing that none of the Black Widows had
That's what I was gonna say. So
organs.
the Yelena scene in the helicopter was totally ad libbed.
So the thing was him talking about you both must be on your periods, or your periods are synced or whatever. That was the joke. And so when they read it, they were like, no, we're not doing this. And so that whole, they rip it out of you and all that stuff, that was all ad libbed, because the writer just did not get, the whole, and then didn't even get to the ovaries. That was
I was going to talk about
literally.
fallopian tubes.
Oh yeah, the fallopian tubes. Yeah.
Love
So,
that.
so like literally that clapback was not just to, you know, Alexei, it was to the guy who wrote Black Widow, because he did not like do your research.
Well, I mean,
Um,
like, I thought that was like they covered that early
nope.
in the MCU. Like, did you not watch? Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway,
but you realize a lot of the production staff from Loki, like Tom Hiddleston, did research or did a master class with the characters, with the actors, but a lot of the production staff did not listen to anything he said, did not take any notes, had not seen anything previously. In fact, a lot of them hadn't even seen Thor until before they went into production. So like they're it's like,
shouldn't it be
know your
required
material,
if you're going to
know your
work for
character.
Marvel that you not only have seen all the films,
Yes,
but maybe have
yes,
read the comics of the character, like at least a couple. I'm not asking you to go and read the library. There's too many. Like if you're going to be Daredevil, no,
yeah,
you don't have enough time. Any of these
yeah,
characters is not enough time. But there are key
yeah.
issues that go into key elements that you can pull from, and some of them did. I know like Cumberbatch did, and I know that um, why do I Brie Larson did for Danvers. A lot of that people did it, and I think they did a good job. But yeah, that was the
Yeah.
awesome thing about Loki. You liked that it was detached from the rest of the.
Tom Hiddleston held it together. Like the fact that he did what he did to try to bring people up
I
to
want to
speed
see those
was.
lectures.
I do too.
Loki
Okay,
lectures,
okay.
episode
There are
one.
two things that I've realized this week that I need. One, I need Tom Hiddleston to do a class on Loki, and I want it to be something on like some type of site that we could actually take it and get course credits for. Second, I want them to release what Kevin Feige has said exists. Feige has confirmed that there is a cut. I don't know of what, but there is a recording of Luis doing what Luis does for the entire MCU.
I don't want that. I'm going to
I want it.
stand. I'm going to
I want
stand. I
so
know.
bad.
I'm going to be. I'm going to be the weirdo that goes because everybody's like, now that there's a multiverse, I want Louise talking to Louise, talking to Louise, and I'm like, don't
No,
make my
but
ears
literally,
bleed. I'm good.
Louise. Supposedly there is a recording of Louise explaining all the movies up to Endgame.
I mean, that's cool. I mean, it's fine, but everybody loved him, and to me, he was a fun part of that movie. But he's not everything everybody makes him out to be. He's a great actor. I think I love him as an actor, but the character's okay. He's okay, and he's not my favorite part. I think Scott was funnier in the film. I even thought Michael Douglas was even funnier in the film, but that's just me. It's because I'm an old fart, I guess, maybe. But Um, let's talk about Loki, since we literally segued
Yep,
into
yep,
this
yep.
very nicely. We are going to talk about Loki episode 6. If you have not seen Loki episode 6, there will be major spoilers ahead. We are going to break it all the way down in the next half an hour, including the big bad, the whole deal. So this is your
Mhm.
opportunity that if you've seen it, hang out. If you haven't seen it, um, we've given, I think, plenty of forewarning. We could always throw the spoiler sign up just for the sake of arguing. Okay, so it's up for those that come in late. So we walk out of the episode 5 and into this episode with the castle at the end of time. And Loki and Sylvie are walking up, and of course they draw it out like you expect. I didn't expect an answer in the first 2, maybe even 3, 5 minutes. Give it
Mhm.
to us a little faster than I expected, honestly. I expected another 10-minute draw out, and then they
Yeah.
give it to us in the last 5, but they did a pretty good job. And I have to admit, for anybody who does follow me anywhere on social media, I was wrong. I was 1000% wrong about everything across the board. I got nothing right. Big fat zero. And that's fine. And the first night I watched it, I spent the night going, oh, I'm so bummed. Rewatch the episodes so that I could just watch it and realize how much I really, really loved this episode. And I thought
Mhm.
that, oh, what's his name? Who plays the character?
So,
Why do I not know his name off the top of my head? This is
hold on.
terrible. I'm looking it up too. It's terrible. Oh, we should know this. Why does it say there's 7 episodes? Oh, because there's one slated for episode. Yeah, anyway. Okay, his name is Jonathan Majors, and I knew that.
Yep.
Um, have fun, Brian. Thanks for stopping by. That was very cool of you to stop by and giving us a follow. We, of course, do this every week. Potentially not next week, but generally speaking, every Sunday, we talk movies. So it's
Mhm.
Jonathan Majors who is playing
Yep.
the one above all, is he is referred to in the beginning of the episode. And
Mhm.
this is going to be interesting because I actually want to debate this a little bit with you because I think it'll be fun. But
Okay.
for those that don't know and who are still here, even if they want spoilers, Loki and Sylvie do find the one above all, who is essentially a variant of Kang the Conqueror, who we're all expecting to be the next big bad. So we knew that was happening. We just didn't know if it would be confirmed for this episode. And I make the argument that a lot of people that said it wasn't going to be Kang were still right because in a sense, it'd be like saying that Sylvie and Loki are the same person, and we all agree that they're not really truly the same person. They may have the same DNA or the same potential structure. They obviously have chosen completely different paths. And this is really a matter of identity. So, if it's a matter of identity and the whole show is about identity, how can we honestly say that the one above all is actually Kang when he's actually a lot more benevolent and trying to do what's best for everyone, possibly, while Kang would literally just be a destroyer or a conqueror? I'm going to leave that to you to tell me what you think.
I actually had to think about this because I was one of those individuals that was like, I'm more like I'm 25 or 75% wrong. I wasn't completely wrong. And then I'm like, it wasn't Kang, but it's pointing to Kang. And though we see the outfit that he's wears is traditionally what was worn by a Mortis, which is another version of Kang, um, which basically it's more of an enlightened version where he basically does what he's trying to do and tries to prevent the conquest and the destruction of all the multiverse. And of course the one above all, it's kind of like blended in together.
All right.
um but I had to come to terms because there's that scene where he says, I've been called many things, and one of them is said conqueror. And though he may not have been the King the Conqueror that we know of, or what potential that he has, where he's going to be a bad for the Avengers, and we're going to see him cause problems back and forth within his own timeline, you have to admit he destroyed all the other timelines. He pruned them all down to one circle.
Do not get me
And
wrong. Dude's a dictator. You're right.
yeah, so in any sense, regardless of um what his intentions were, that there are worse versions of him out there and we're gonna see them.
Agreed.
Realize
Agreed.
realize he the way he's had everything happen, was by literally removing free will completely from everyone. And so, whether everyone knew it or not, they were basically enslaved into his version of a timeline. So the dude was bad regardless. It was just
I
he
love
was
this.
so self-absorbed. I mean, this is like Thanos level
Hmm.
self-righteousness.
I
I
would
mean,
go
when you think
further.
about it.
I would
So
go further.
yeah.
I would say this is more like um, Ozymandias and Doctor Manhattan level. Like this is really a matter of if you're given two options, right?
Oh yeah.
Enslave humanity and let them live, or let everyone die. Those are your options. And that's what this
Yeah.
show is saying. And if I had to say, we got benevolent Kang. And if benevolent Kang is the good, that's the best we're going to get, then technically that's a good guy. He is good Kang. Does that make sense?
That's an anti-hero.
Agreed. Maybe even
Extremely.
he's an anti-villain. I think he's doing the
Yeah,
right
we
thing
can
for
do
all the
that.
wrong reasons.
And it's the worst right thing
No,
you could
no,
possibly
the
do.
wrong thing for all the right reasons. He's doing the wrong thing for all the right reasons. He's an anti-villain.
Yeah.
Hey, all the movie things, which we don't know. It's just all the movie things. All the. I don't know how to break that down into a nickname. Things. Uh, Thanks for coming by. Thanks for hanging
Absolutely.
out. Totally understand. I got to be up at 6, so
Dude,
I
and love your
respect that.
stuff. Absolutely. If
Oh,
you
dude,
guys are on TikTok, I would definitely say follow all the movie things. He's got a great insight, and I love his videos. So by all means.
he's a film student that has turned TikToker and is breaking down those things in a very very real way. I
Yeah.
watch his stuff regularly.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's got me hooked. He's got me hooked. I keep calling. I go onto his chats. Hooked, hooked. That's all I say. Anyway, but thanks for stopping by. Um, I'm really out of it tonight. So I still argue that again. I'm parsing hairs, and I know that I am. I know that I am. I know that I'm being a little pedantic here, but that's okay. If I have to say it though, the Kang that we got is the best version of Kang we could ever get. Kind of like the Loki we have, our variant is almost like the best version of Loki we would ever get. But can we really say he's a bad
I
guy?
I disagree with you because I think the best King version of King that we could get, we would not get because it takes the amount of ruthlessness to get what we got.
So you're saying the Kang
The
that we
best
would never see would
the
be just be
best
dead?
version of Kang was the first to be killed. Let's just face it. Like
Hmm.
so we will never get to see the good Kang because the good Kang would always be dominated by the bad ones. He's just the lesser of the evils.
But again, that
Um
is the discussion here, right? Again, we're talking about Ozymandias and Doctor Manhattan and their choice and what they do in Watchmen in order to decide, the
right.
fate of humanity. It is literally the choice of lesser of two evils, and that's what this show boiled down to me. And that's one of my
Yeah.
favorite tropes to talk about. I
Yeah.
love the concept of lesser of two evils. Um, so as much as I do agree with you, and I do know fundamentally that I'm wrong, that it is Kang, that he is evil. The question is he evil or is he our kind of evil? Does that make sense?
Maybe yours.
Not mine, but do we agree? Okay, when it's all said and done, do we agree that maybe putting the timeline back might be the better way, considering
So so we
what it
know
might
we
mean?
know where they're heading. This was the best option, but we're looking at it as an outside observer.
Right, right, right. From
And
a fan's perspective, we're
and
like,
also when you
yes.
have but also when you allow existence to have a freedom of choice, then you are going to have, there is bad with that good.
Right.
There are things that you can't avoid when you allow, basically a butterfly effect where, stepping on a butterfly in, 10,000 years ago could, basically, create a completely different timeline of, of what happens.
Right.
You don't know what that butterfly could have, if it would have lived, what it would have done. So understandably, it's a good choice, but there's a consequence. And I think when it came to is the consequence going to be worth undoing what was done? That's the big question with this film, or with this episode is like, in some ways I felt like at one point Tom Hiddleston's Loki was right for wanting to stop and to consider. Whereas I felt Sylvie was also right to follow through. But then the question was, what was she following? What was the reason for her following through? And then, of course, then it also raises the question of what happened after. Um, you
Because we
know,
don't know.
exactly. We don't know.
We only
And
know
we
what
know,
happens at the TVA at that point.
right, and we know Tom Hiddleston's Loki. Well, we'll just call him Odinson because we know that's where he leads off to.
Not
Or I
Laufey-san?
guess, well, actually, he's Laufey's son. He's not
Yeah.
Odinson unless he, were to die by the hand of Thanos, basically. Um, so Laufey's son goes back into another variant version of the timeline with the TVA. It's not that the time changed for where he was at. It's he's in a different branch.
Are you sure?
So now yeah. I mean, okay. So the idea here was right before Sylvie kills the one above all. Um, we already see the branches in the timeline. So when she sent him back, he ends up in a place where they don't know who he is. They don't even acknowledge him as a Loki. They're like, you're one of the analysts, right? And so they're responding to the trauma of all the dumbling from their viewpoint. And I believe that as the TVA tried to give this idea that they were out of time, I don't think they're out of time. I think they were not. Everything about the TVA was not what it was.
So
So
here's my take, because I actually disagree. I think the TVA that he steps back into is the exact same building in the exact same quantum universe that they already were in. And it is, of course, the quantum universe we see in the city inside Ant-Man and the Wasp in the quantum universe. We know that there's a city there. So Muncie said something, and then I want to address what you just said. Muncie said, my question is, if they have Kang the Conqueror coming now, and it looks like he wants more multiverses to come as stated by Mobius, why does he want that? Why wouldn't he want his own timeline? Okay, so the other Kangs are true conquerors, not benevolent dictators, and they want to rule all of the multiverses, not just one. They would love to be able to do whatever they want, and in order to do that, you need all the multiverses. They even talk about how they would share technology between the multiverse
right.
to each universe, and so the Alpha Kang, if you will, would want all of that under his umbrella. While this one is much more of like an Omega Kang, in the sense that he knew what needed to be done in order to keep, humanity, for the lack of a better term, alive. I say, as soon as Kang was killed, that opened up the multiverse. But he even alludes to the fact that as soon as he's killed, he will be reborn. So these multiverses are no longer circles. They're like repeated loops. I know that sounds like a circle, but it's almost like it runs to the end and then starts over again, and then runs to the end and starts over again. So it's an infinite loop. He even talks about an infinite number of Kangs. If that's the case, the one Kang that we're going to worry about, the one that we know from that's going to be coming to the new Ant-Man movie, is the one that's now in charge of the TVA, because he already knew, and he took over. He's wiped everybody's memories, but it's still the same people in the same place. They just had their memories wiped.
And he just erected a giant statue of himself like that, you're saying?
I'm saying that much like most time travel things, when things change far enough back in the past, that they will appear to change instantaneous in the present.
Yeah.
So I'm saying,
I think he's in a different multiverse.
But if he started out, instead of it just being the Time Lords, I don't know.
This is where it comes down to. We're assuming that this is in the quantum realm. That's under the assumption. And I don't think this is Chronocopolis.
You don't think so? You don't think this is the city we saw in Ant-Man and the Wasp in the quantum realm?
I think it's very reminiscent to it. But I personally don't think it's Chronocopolis, and I'm okay if I'm wrong. I could, but I think for the fact of how much changed so quickly,
but that's my point. See, to you and me, it changed quickly, but to the people in the TVA, they grew up that way. It was already that way because it started. You got to go back to the beginning of the timeline for Kang to grow up. He references this. You got to go watch the episode again. Kang literally references that this will happen, that he'll reincarnate. He even says reincarnation, baby, and then he'll come back. And so he's already relived through his whole life. So of all the other Kangs, and Loki is popped right back out to the same point in time in which he left, but now Kang has taken over. It's kind of like when Marty goes to 1985. It's in Back to the Future 2.
Yeah, but we already know that time travel with 1985, like Back to the Future doesn't exist. Work with MCU.
You know what I mean? So the concept of it's an alternate. It's a concept of he things appear differently because he went to that time, but in reality, everybody grew through that time to that point, so it looks different. It still started at the exact same point where Biff got the magazine in the garage, right? Everything in the 55 was still the same, but going forward in time. I don't know. Does that?
No.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying makes sense.
Okay.
But I personally do not believe that.
And I like that. I like it because we got an argument here. This is good.
We're talking about. Okay, it was already branching before Sylvie killed him. He was ejected through. He was ejected through it before he was killed. Before the Kangs reincarnated. He was already in there, so he should have been wiped just like everybody else did. Because she kicked him through, and it was like at least 30 seconds before she ends up killing him. So if she would have killed him in front of Loki and then ejected him into the TVA, I would have agreed with you. But because she ejected him first.
So you're saying they knew he wasn't Loki the moment they saw him? You're saying that
they didn't know who he was.
Ever.
Because in that multiverse,
they
were not pruning Lokis.
That's a good point. Okay, do you see Muncie's question there? It's addressed right to you.
See, then that's where I'm kind of like with Muncie. That's what I'm thinking is if the TVA is not Chronocropolis, then it's not in the quantum realm. And I think with the quantum realm, it would not have been affected by the multiverse because it's outside of time. So if the TVA is not in Chronocropolis or in the quantum realm, then we find that basically this entire like organization is dependent on the timeline that it exists in. And so it sits out of detection of the let's say the timeline, or that version of the multiverse, but it's not necessarily governed by time within it.
But we do know that time in the quantum realm moves slower. It's not that it doesn't move at all. It's not that people wouldn't age. It's just that you can cover a lot more time and jump in and out where you feel like it, according to Scott and Tony. I mean, we see them pull this off. Like, we know the Avengers can do this. So if the Avengers can do it, and I even saw a thing where Kang's little thing is very reminiscent of Tony's, which makes perfect sense. Same technology, but his is just more advanced. But I still only think there's one TVA. I don't see how there could be more than one.
See, and here's the thing where I think is so if we're talking about the Chronocropolis, okay, the TVA being within the quantum realm, if you remember all of the shots, and I'm going to go back and look as well because just to think about it, all of the shots of like outside windows or whatever, you never see like any type of dome. You don't see any type of like quantum distortion outside of the TVA. And so, honestly, could it possibly be that, we're thinking it's that domed city, but it's not?
No, that's possible. Can we also talk about the fact that I don't think we got enough alligator Loki? It was only one episode.
Absolutely.
What was that? Like, come on. At least with the child in Mandalorian, you get a lot of them, but with alligator Loki, I was like, could you guys just take him as a pet? Just take him as a pet. He can hang out. He doesn't have to do much. Just show him every once in a while. Even give him to another character for a little while, just for safekeeping. But keep him around. Whatever happened to him?
Could you imagine if we get an episode of season 2 of Loki and he's going from multiverse to multiverse and he ends up where Crocodile Loki exists and like they go on an adventure together? I would take my money.
If alligator Loki is Loki, he's going to be from Florida, right? I mean, because that's where gators are from. So what would Thor would have to be something along those same lines.
You have Croaky and you have Throg.
Yeah, I know we would do Throg, but I was thinking something cooler, change it up a little bit. Besides which, I mean, now you have Odin. What is Odin?
Snake Thor.
Snake Thor? I could do with that. How would he carry the hammer? Like with his snake tail?
With his tail.
I can dig that.
He's spinning with his tail and flies backwards.
Throg versus Alligator Loki. I think Alligator Loki is one of those characters that you just didn't expect to love, and then all of a sudden you're like, dude, that guy stole the show. Like as much as old Loki stole the show, Alligator stole a little more of the show, and I just miss him. And I keep thinking about that song. It was like that was such a short time. So, man, we just lost a bunch of viewers, but that's okay. It's getting late in the night.
Yeah.
It happens.
Well, it's interesting because in the comic books, the Everglades actually has a Nexus location. Like, there's actually a Nexus event that takes place in the bogs of Florida,
Hmm.
and so literally, like, it's a place where all of the multiverse kind of blends in, and you have characters from like other multiverses that end up getting like mixed up in the whole bit. So it makes sense that there'd be an alligator Loki.
Agreed. And I think that it'd be great if you can get like Spider Ham hanging out there and other animal type creatures. So we'll see. I think this episode was solid. I really think Jonathan Majors, dude, sold it. Like, I loved that performance. Yeah, I don't know what else to say other than it was perfect.
You did you see the part where he looked at the camera?
Where he fourth walled it.
Yes.
I watched the episode twice. I don't remember that.
It's in the elevator. They go to kill him. They swipe at him, and he ends up like zooming behind them, and then he comes back up in front again, and he's like looking around, and then he goes like, and then looks off again. Like, there's been 3 events in the Loki series where Loki, Sylvie, and the one above all looks at the camera, and I don't think it's a coincidence.
Now, you do agree we should call him the one above all because it's no different than calling her Sylvie, right? If we call her Loki, that's
Right.
not
Right.
appropriate because it's not really
Yeah.
what she identifies as. And he did admit he liked that name and didn't mind being called
Yes.
that, even though he may have gone by Kang at a younger age.
And even though he's really more of an embodiment of a Mortis, but that doesn't matter.
Right, because it's not a name that the MCU has decided to have. What's
Until, like,
interesting,
3
what
years
the
from now.
implications are here, I think, are widespread. I've heard some rumors that Feige's like, no long-term contracts. I've heard rumors he's like, no big bads anymore. And I'm like, don't listen to a damn word Feige says right now. Don't, because he's going to spit and switch your ass. That's what he does. He literally will. So anything he's saying isn't going to happen right now. Don't buy that. Do not buy it.
Yeah.
Trust me. I've been doing this for 12 years now. Don't buy it.
Well, it's like you can't trust anybody that's involved in the MCU at this point. Now, I can understand the long-term contract thing, but like, people were losing their crap in the last 2 weeks because Robert Downey Jr. started unfollowing all of the Avengers cast, and people were thinking like, "Oh, this is him throwing, putting distance, that he's done with Marvel." That may not be the case.
Well, he also just lost his dad.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Sr. just died. That's a
Yeah.
big deal. I don't think people are going to be like, let's hang out on Twitter. My dad just died. Like,
Yeah.
maybe
and
maybe it became a
everybody in
thing. He
Avengers,
just doesn't want to do it anymore.
and he probably just like all of them are like tweeting about Black Widow and Loki and all this other stuff, and is like, I'll just I just need to get off of all the campaign stuff and just take a minute.
Yeah, maybe he just needed to wind. There are times where I wind down on social media sometimes
Yeah.
because you have to,
Yeah.
and I can't blame anybody that does it. If he's done with the MCU, then he's also done with the MCU. The dude did it for a decade and
Yeah.
he did a perfect job at it. We don't.
Yeah.
If he never
And
comes back, we're good.
we're still getting his voice for What If.
Right. And I love that a lot of people came back for that. And then I love that, okay, I told you about the clickbait where they were like, both Benedict Cumberbatch and Scarlett Johansson have been secretly recast in the Marvel's What If. And I'm like, not secretly recast. They couldn't afford them. And it's a cartoon. So they're not secretly recast, comic book, whatever, bait
Which
click crap. I hate those, man.
Can I just
Come
say
on.
something though? I think it's kind of funny that they with Benedict Cumberbatch, because literally after Avengers Endgame, they had him like in person do Avengers Damage Control, which was that ILM VR experience that you could go like to the malls or somewhere to go do.
Right.
Like, Letitia Wright and him are both visually in the game. And then you have like the voice acting of a lot of the cast, and some people they did recast, but they had him in that, so it's not like they couldn't have afforded him. It probably just didn't work in his schedule or whatnot.
Probably not, because actors are busy.
Yeah.
And there's only so much time in each booth. And there's only, and money is a factor, whether they want to believe it or not. Cumberbatch is an expensive actor. That dude gets paid to do a lot of different things. So he may have cost too much for this. It's possible.
Yeah.
It may have been outside of his contract.
And I really feel like this is actually also going to, it's probably a more in-depth part, because I think he's going to be the one approaching Owatu, because and he's going to be going through the multiverse. I really think we're going to go, the What If series is going to go through from Doctor Strange's perspective, which is going to lead up into Multiverse of Madness. And I think maybe for the sake of how in depth the voice acting would be, it probably did get expensive. But they're probably saving him for the other stuff, because they he's going to be in a lot of movies moving forward. So
Agreed. Hey, do you know who's on right now?
who?
Comics Related is on right now on Twitch. Should we rate him?
Hey, sure.
I know we're about
All right,
done
before
here,
we do
so
that,
yeah, let's rate
we
this
got to
and
do our
let's talk
ratings
about
and
it.
whatnot.
But I saw him on, and I know that he's been doing a lot more Twitch stuff, so I think that'd be kind of cool, just to see
Yeah.
what he thinks. I think episodes 4, 5, and 6 really redeemed the show for me. I was not happy, as you know, with the beginning of the seasons or episodes 2 and 3. For me, were really lackluster, and I know that that's the building point for every TV show. They build up to that they build up. So, getting deep into the alligator Loki lore, I love it. That's brilliant. Please do. Alligator Loki needs his own comic, like a whole comic, and I want it in that like really goofy, like cartoony form.
Yes.
Anyway, I would say this show started out as my least favorite of the 3 and ended up being my second favorite of the 3 shows.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
I thought it was difficult for, well, okay, let me go back and backtrack. I can understand where you're coming from with that. Honestly, I got hooked from episode 1 just for the fact of the amount of Easter eggs, of being able to kind of look in and see, what was going on. There's a lot of like stuff, like it drew me in, because I think WandaVision got to prep me for it, and I kind of was a little bit disappointed with Falcon Winter Soldier, because though it had a lot of like Easter eggs and like callbacks to stuff from the past and with the comic books, it wasn't that comic booky show. It was appropriate. It was perfect. And I love Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I can't wait for Captain America 4. Or we should just call it Sam Wilson Captain America, because I think that would be great for the comic book. Like have a comic book title like that. But uh I was ready for something a little bit more meta, and I think Loki was perfect for that, and I liked that.
I agree, and it is meta.
Yeah,
It's meta as hell. I mean, it's about as meta as
yeah,
it's going to get. But
yeah.
Hold on. I think Comics Related is getting off. Nope, he's just stepping away for a second. I would like to rate him when he's actually on, so it's not like we're in a hurry to get out of here. It's mostly that I want to be able to get up.
Hey, I have enough points to redeem another bad movie.
Don't do it. What is Kingdom or Forbidden Kingdom anyway? What the hell is that?
Okay, so it is a Jackie Chan, Jet Li film. It's got the main character, the boy from Sky High.
I never saw that.
Okay, so it's this kid. He's like this kung fu nerd who is friends with this guy, and these high school kids basically get him to help them break into this like pawn shop type dude, or it's like a antique store type dude's shop. And there is this golden staff that the guy has, like it's basically, it belongs to the Monkey King. And when he grabs the staff, it actually teleports him to the Forbidden Kingdom. And it's like this old, it literally basically transports him into a kung fu movie, and he has to learn kung fu throughout it. And it makes fun of itself a lot.
So
It's
it
not
sounds
everybody's
like a kung fu page master.
It's not, and honestly,
Am I wrong? Like, you know what I'm talking about? Macaulay Culkin, the page master.
yeah, it's kind of like that. I mean,
okay.
the fun part about it is there's like so Jackie Chan plays the drunken master, but he's never been given the title of master.
So like he plays the drunken master from the Drunken Master series.
Like no, like he's a drunken like he's supposed to be like the god of the drunken master art.
Okay, so he's not playing his original Drunken Master character. He's okay.
No,
just checking,
no,
because that was his big thing for a while.
Yeah, and then you have Jet Li, who actually is like he's a monk. And there's also this girl. I think she actually played Mulan in the live action remake.
Okay,
and she's in there, and she's in it, and her whole goal is to kill the the war the basically he's like the Lord of War or whatever. And the whole idea is they're trying to bring back the Monkey King, and the Monkey King is basically just a funny version of Jet Li. So it's a weird story. It's a very weird story.
Is it over the
There's
top
some
like
it's ridiculous. It's
like
ridiculous. But
Crouching
it's
Tiger, Hidden Dragon with the like running on trees crap? Because I
it's
hate
not
that
like
crap.
that. It's like
Okay.
it's like whitewash kung fu in a sense, because all of these kung fu like martial artists are trying to teach him how to fight, and they can't agree on how to teach him. And so you have basically Jet Li and Jackie Chan like arguing the whole time with each other. Um, so it's interesting. It's very interesting. And there's one part where like Jet Li urinates on Jackie Chan. So that's fun, always funny, you know.
Interesting. I mean, you redeemed it. We're gonna watch it. Like that's part of the
Yeah,
deal. Like
but I could redeem
that's how it
something
works.
else really bad. What if there was a movie that you did not want me to redeem? What would it be?
Oh, I'm not telling you that. I'm not insane. I'm not going to tell you that. No, there is a movie too that I've said you would have to pay me an exorbitant amount of money to watch this movie because I
I'm trying to
refuse
see
to
if your
watch it.
wife is in the chat. Oh, your
She's
wife's not in
not.
the chat.
She's
I
not
was
in the
gonna ask
chat.
her.
She's not. And she shouldn't be doing me that disservice, I would hope. No, there is a movie. There
I
is
just have to catch you
one
on I just
movie,
have to catch. Yeah.
and you're gonna have to listen for it because you'll hear me talk about it. But there is one movie I cannot stand and I refuse to watch. And everybody's like, "But you got to watch it." I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. I refuse." And of
Well,
course,
like I told you, like, and I don't hate anybody for it. There are movies that I don't want to watch.
right.
I would probably, knowing that you have that, I would probably never do that to you. So
Well, and it's not, again, if somebody paid me enough money, and I mean this literally, if somebody was like, "We're going to give you 100 subs," I'd watch the movie. We could
that's
even
not
set
even
it as a
enough.
goal. We could set a goal, though, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying 100 subs is enough. I'm saying we could set a ridiculous goal, and that would be what it would take. Because I hate even the idea of watching this movie, let alone actually watching it. Like, just thinking
Okay,
about
what we
watching
should
it is
do
making me angry.
is we
If that
should
makes
redeem
sense.
100 subs just to find out what the movie is, and then make it a ridiculous point amount in the thing. Like you have to have like 1,000,000 points.
Okay. It's not that big of a secret. I'm pretty sure if you scoured my stuff, you'd find it. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go through all your TikToks now. I'm gonna stalk you for a little bit.
I don't think it'll be on my TikToks, but it sure is on these old Triad and Snidbits reviews, without a doubt. So,
You're telling a gunter to go find something.
I mean, if you can figure out what it is and then you want to help me do exactly what you just talked about, I think that's great. But genuinely, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could bring myself without a lot of pressure to watch this film. So, anyway, he's back.
Okay.
If you want to raid him, we're down to two viewers now.
Okay, points. How much did you get for Loki episode 6?
I give it a 10. I liked the episode a lot. I thought Jonathan Majors brought it a 10.
It's a no-brainer.
And because of the implications alone, the fact that What If has become canon, the fact that every Marvel product ever made is now canon.
And so, any type of scenario, basically, I said it this way, and I think this is the funniest part about it. How it should have ended, all of those episodes that they've ever done on Marvel is canon.
Yeah.
Which is just amazing to think.
Yeah.
Because
no, there's nothing people can
out.
Right, but there's nothing anybody can say now about nah, doesn't matter.
Somewhere in the universe it did.
Yep.
Somewhere in the universe I was 100% right, but
right.
That's,
no, the only one we couldn't. Well, no, it's Kang. Regardless, we couldn't have been wrong about that or right about that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, you
pointed to Kang,
right? Muncie.
I will say.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Was it Kev J Parker on TikTok?
Yeah, Kev J, dude.
100%. He was right.
He was.
Yes,
so was Straw Hat. They were both great and right.
Yep.
So, all right, we're going to raid Comics Related here. So if you've never followed Comics Related, he is on TikTok. He is a very astute and well-informed comic guy. He knows his DC comics especially well. But he also likes to get into it with people. So if you don't agree with him, be prepared for that. But that's part of the fun. Other than that, I hope everybody has a great evening. Mr. Marvelite, I hope you have a great evening.
Yep. Have a wonderful night.
We will talk to you guys hopefully next week. If you don't see us next week, it's because I'm at surgery and recovering, and we'll be back the week after that. So you guys have a great night.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
2 Raiders, 3. Three Raiders. It's good enough. 3 is good. Boom. Here we go. Let's